Neon Genesis Evangelion is all about what happens when humans want to try and become God. It's by no means a Christian anime, and I certainly wouldn't recommend it to the Christian who is especially struggling with the sin of lust. And while I did enjoy a lot of the fight scenes and the main story before episode 25 and 26, the philosophical underpinnings and a lot of the spiritual world building of this anime seriously made me uncomfortable, and it was for good reason too. The whole story of this anime is to reach this particular end where the survival of the human race and the elimination of human suffering are both placed as these ultimate goals in which the whole world is expected to place tremendous amounts of resources and funds into. So there's these supernatural threats known as angels who come and attack this city that is New Tokyo 3, as these angels recognize that this is where humanity possesses all of its strongest weapons. Then we follow each of these three child pilots who are the ones responsible for the operation of these EVA, which are the only things that can actually defeat these angels. There's also a lot of lore that's been hinted at throughout the show, like what is the second impact which resulted in massive amounts of destruction for humanity, and how did it come to this point where all of these cities drowned as a result of rising sea levels? Where did the angels even originate from? And I'll be honest with you, I really enjoyed this anime until the last few episodes, because you're seriously immersed in this completely unrecognizable world which is so foreign to ours, yet still has the same familiar elements to make it still believable. The United Nations still exists, and it seems like the world's delegated a lot of money for the UN to operate a military, and the Japanese government and this Nerve Corporation that it's delegated to for the defense against these angels all paint a picture of this well thought out world. However, I don't want to focus on the story itself and its characters, because you can find out for yourself if you are interested enough. However, my fan service warning still stands, and again, I'm going to delve into the more spiritual and religious aspects of Evangelion's story, so a spoiler warning for this series too. The irony of this world is that this is the most technologically advanced that humanity is ever going to get, yet there is this innate human urge amongst all of those in leadership to still find meaning and to create mythology and meta-narratives. It isn't enough for the people in this anime to focus on how great and amazing science is, but this anime recognizes the reality that humans need a god of some sort, and if that happens to be the god of science, then all of these folks end up worshipping this particular god. Though it doesn't stop there. Worship of science is not the ultimate end, it is rather the elevation of man as god, and we can observe all of the unfortunate consequences and disastrous consequences, I should say, that occur in this world as a result of man abandoning the god of the universe. There's so many elements of Christianity that have been embedded in this anime too, and it's so unfortunate because the scientists at Nerve and the leadership decide to pervert and manipulate the Christian aesthetic to ultimately use it for their own purposes. So we have these two angels, which they've named Adam and Lilith, and they create this mythology that human originated from these two beings, and they literally have the thing crucified on a cross, which is one of the most heinous perversions of Christ's sacrifice on the cross. Instead of the characters of Evangelion being prompted to look to Christ for salvation and to cast their worries to him who provides ultimate peace, the characters in this anime are instead prompted to look to other humans to become one with every other human in order to find peace and escape suffering. Throughout this entire series, we see all of these characters suffer from loneliness and not being needed by others, and for the Christian who feels the same way, we have our assurance that we will never be alone, because even if Christianity is banned and we no longer have access to fellowship with other Christians, we still have a God with us who provides us with peace and the strength to persevere. However, the most unfortunate conclusion that this worldview has produced, which all culminate in the last two episodes of the original series and the end of Evangelion movie, where the individual lived experience of every human being on Earth is completely erased because of some vague notion that suffering must be eliminated. Not only that, but the implication of this worldview is that individuals ourselves do not actually exist and we all lack agency, but instead we as humanity are all one collective being, for our identities are actually intrinsically tied to one another, and our destiny is actually for us all to merge into one collective being in order to remove the suffering that occurs between humans and ensure the long-term survival of humanity. It's complete hogwash, of course, but it is a line of thinking to be aware of because the world wants to assure us that we can find meaning and purpose by solely focusing on the material world, by solely focusing and depending on the strength of other humans. However, we as Christians know that true peace and salvation is not found in the merging of humanity as one collective, but it is only found in the one true God of the universe, who is Jesus Christ. That's why, even though it's not a Christian anime, and I certainly wouldn't recommend it to the faint of heart, but there are consequences to the proliferation of this sort of spiritual hocus pocus. We as Christians, when we are watching these shows, we really ought not to be passive consumers, and we really ought to think about the things that are on our screen and actively think about the messaging that is being said in the shows we're watching. It's not a complete prohibition, however, this is simply a friendly reminder of our status as new creations in Christ. For which, if you are interested in an actual Christian anime, I did a video on Violet Evergarden, which is an anime that actually espouses a more positive world view.